What is up, Z Fighters? It's Manga Adventures, and today not only will I be doing a special what if based on a storyline in the Budokai Tenkaichi 1 game, but I'll also have a special guest, NatsuJutsu, who will review the actual game itself. He's a close friend of mine with not only a gaming channel but also a Twitch. His most popular YouTube videos are usually the ones teaching people how to do things in games, not outright said or hard to understand, like the Demon Souls remake co-op. Right now, he's playing the new game Elden Ring, and if there's something he feels that could have been expanded on or just outright not explained, he'll make a video on it, so go check him out. His Twitch and YouTube links are in the description, but enough shameless promotion, let's get into the story. The what if that caught my eye in this game was Revenge of the Saiyans, and I wanted to see realistically just how far this story could go and how it would even happen in the first place, because this story isn't realistic at all. It has a Cyberman defeating first form Frieza and has adult Bardock fighting after adult Raditz, when the last time Bardock was alive, Raditz was still a boy. So first things first, let's try to set the story and pull all the pieces together. To start off, I'll be using the father of Goku, Bardock, because that's the version the game is using, which will help us a lot. After his battle with Frieza, he was flung back in time, but here instead he's flung forward in time to the planet where Vegeta, Raditz, and Nappa had just conquered, right before Raditz was sent to go recruit Kakarot. As they take him to a healing pot, assuming he is Kakarot, now's a good time to get into the headache known as Saiyan power scaling, which I'll try to make as brief as possible. As most people know, Saiyans are divided into 3 classes: low class, mid class, and elite, formerly known in the manga as low class, elite, and super elite. Why this is always going to be a problem in the Dragon Ball community is because of Raditz, a Saiyan warrior constantly called a weakling by both Nappa and Vegeta, and even compared in strength to a Cyberman. With that context, most people assume he is a low class warrior. But the problem with that is not only was he never outright called a low-class Saiyan, Akira, Dazenshuu 7, and the movie pamphlets from Battle of Gods and the Super Broly movie, both canon sequels to Z during their respective runs, not only called Raditz a powerful Saiyan warrior, but also put him in the same class as Nappa. The same Nappa who shouts his status as an elite when losing against Goku, meaning that Raditz is also an elite, or if we're using the modern system, mid-class. I'm pretty sure you can see the problem. A lot of people will refuse the notion that Nappa or Raditz are in the same class, because if that was the case, most if not all Saiyans will have a power level lower than Raditz, which in the grand scheme of the series would make them incredibly weak, since a majority of Saiyans are low class. This would shatter people's belief of Saiyans being this powerful race, when in reality they were specks in Frieza's army who had a neat trump card with the Great Apes and never utilized their Zenkais in canon, mainly because they always attack in groups and during a full moon. This is why people see Raditz as the weakest Saiyan ever and bump up the average low class Saiyan to be at least twice as strong as him. I lay all this out not to cause an argument, but you can talk about it in the comments if you want, but to explain where I'm going to put this version of Bardock at a power level of 950 before his massive Zenkai that put him close to 10,000. So I'll just say 9,500, meaning his Zenkais in this story provide him a 10 times boost. But if you are in the camp that thinks Raditz is one of the weakest low class Saiyans, that's fine. You can put Bardock at 2,750. That's in between the 1,500 of Raditz and the 4,000 of Nappa, since Nappa is the next step of the class system and Bardock is still called a low class warrior in the special. That would make his Zenkai much smaller at 3.5 times. These Zenkais will only change one part of the story, and I'll tell you when it splits. With those numbers out the way, let's head back to a fully healed Bardock. Just like in the special, his power level was scanned and relayed to him with another 10 times boost. His current power level is now 95,000. Nappa, Vegeta, and Raditz are in disbelief thinking the machine is broken. When Bardock steps out of the healing pod, he's confused about how he got there and what happened to Frieza. Last he remembered, he was caught in a blast that destroyed planet Vegeta. Raditz takes a closer look and realizes that this isn't Kakarot. This is his father, Bardock. But how? Reports say planet Vegeta was destroyed by a meteor along with everyone on the planet at the time. Confusion quickly turns to anger as Bardock is disgusted that Frieza would cover up what he did. But his anger is cut by the laughter of none other than Prince Vegeta. Isn't it obvious? He killed the Saiyans because he feared our power. But what he wasn't expecting was for the legendary Super Saiyan to have survived. At first, the others aren't sure if Vegeta's lost it or not, but that would make sense on how a low-class Saiyan was able to jump to such absurd levels in power. With the confidence of the legendary Super Saiyan on their side, they think now's the time to get revenge on their people and plan an all-out assault with Bardock leading the charge. It doesn't take long to find Frieza's ship and kill all the grunts, destroy all the communication and scouters because they do not want to be tracked or backup to arrive. They do this while also looking for the tyrant. Frieza is annoyed to say the least and sends Dodoria and Zarbon to clean up this mess. When the two arrive on scene, Dodoria is surprised to see Bardock, thinking he had killed him years ago. But he shrugs it off, saying this time he'll finish the job, before firing a mouth blast similar to their last encounter. But this time, not only does Bardock tank the attack, he charges through at blinding speed until he shoves his hand through the open mouth of Dodoria, killing him. And before Zarbon could react, Bardock blasts him away with a single key attack from his other hand. With his right hand men taken care of, they head to where Frieza is at to confront him. Vegeta announces his worst fear came true, and he's in the presence of the legendary Super Saiyan. Frieza just lets out a sigh as the group of Saiyans are on guard, but in the blink of an eye, he was gone. Bardock slowly turns his head to see Frieza's hand straight through Vegeta's chest. I let you live, and this is how you repay me. Such a shame. Nappa tries to help the prince, but is smacked away with Frieza's tail, the tyrant not even looking in his direction. Though even with a hole in his chest, Vegeta doesn't yield. He uses the last of his strength to launch a power ball. His dying words, feel the power of the Saiyan race. Thanks to the power ball, both Raditz and Bardock become great apes. Bardock doesn't hesitate to try and squish Frieza like a bug, but here's where the story split happens depending on the power level. If you have Bardock stronger than Raditz, his Zenkai would be lower and his grade 8 form would only be around 340,000. And Frieza's first form would be enough to prevent himself from being squished. But if you agree that he's weaker than Raditz, then his grade 8 form is 950,000 and Frieza will only survive if he transforms into his second form. But regardless, the outcome would be the same. Frieza would be impressed that a monkey could ever be this strong and not wanting the tides to turn against him. While Frieza holds off Bardock with one hand, he uses the other to fire multiple death beams through Raditz. Furious at the death of his son, Bardock's power begins to rise. Frieza, noticing he was getting stronger due to him beginning to struggle holding him, cuts off his tail with the Destructo Disc in hopes that would end the conflict. But although Bardock shrank in size, his power did not. His hair spikes up a golden color and his power level now sits at close to 5 million. This would be enough to kick second form Frieza around his own ship, but the beatdown wouldn't last long as Frieza doesn't like to be on the losing side of a fight. He quickly transforms once again, skipping his third form and going straight to his final form. And although Super Saiyan was powerful, it stood no chance. Frieza could only smirk, thinking to himself, why was he ever scared of the legend, before catching the Saiyan by his neck and slowly squeezing it tighter and tighter. Bardock gathers all his power to launch a point-blank spirit cannon, which is able to both blind and loosen the grip of Frieza, allowing him to escape. Though the tyrant gathers himself in time to aim his death beam at a fleeing Bardock, he's stopped by a Saiyan he completely forgot about, Great Ape Nappa, who grabs Frieza with both his hands, holding on as tight as he could. This did little to nothing as he easily broke free and shot a death beam between his eyes. Though because of the Saiyans' earlier raid destroying all communication and scouter-like devices, Frieza was basically stuck, having to find another ship and unable to track a fleeing Bardock. Annoyed, he reminds himself to send the Ginyu Force to clean up this mess as soon as he finds another ship. Meanwhile, a fleeing Bardock is more than beating himself up over the situation. He let what few remaining Saiyans die, and Frieza defeated him once again, but he won't let it happen a third time. If his visions are true, then his son Kakarot is the key to putting the tyrant out of his misery, so he makes his way to Earth in hopes of avenging the Saiyans. Now, dark ending, right? Well, I made it this way because I wanted to wrap up things in one part for this video. But if you really like the premise and want me to make a full series on it, get this video to 1,000 likes. If you do, I bet you can only imagine how much the story would change. I hope you guys enjoyed this one shot. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And now my boy NatsuJutsu will take over for a review of Budokai Tenkaichi 1.
What is the move, Z Fighter? It is your boy NatsuJutsu coming in with this collab with Manga Adventures. My boy asked me to come in here and to help get some gameplay so he can make this big video he got planned for y'all. And I was like, you know, I could do this for you. I got you, Chief. Because if I didn't do this segment, he probably might disappear like the Avatar again. And we can't have that. He was gone for like 8-9 months. Then he came back with a what if, like everything was sweet. We can't let that slide. We cannot let that slide. So that's what I'm here to do. I'm here to break this down for y'all, show you this gameplay, man, and that's how we gonna keep it rocking. We gonna show how much drip this game got. If this game got any drip, or if the game ain't got no drip, and we gonna go from there. Now let me set the scene for y'all. The year is 2005. Y'all waiting on the next DBZ game to hit the PS2, and you know it's coming because they've been dropping them every year at this point. So you just had to wait your time and just wait. They're dropping them like they were Maddens at the time. It's wild times to be a Dragon Ball fan back then. They were dropping them games left and right. But anyways, I seen a commercial, and the only thing that stuck with me with that whole commercial was 50 characters. That's all I seen. That's all my brain kept saying, and said this game got over 50 characters, and it's a Budokai game. It's a Budokai game with over 50 characters. My mind was blown at the time. So I'm trying to figure out how I'm gonna play this game. So back in my day, we had this place called Blockbuster. I went to Blockbuster, scooped the game up, took it home, put it in the PS2, and boy, was my experience a little bit disappointing, but also fun at the same time. And I'm gonna break down those pros and cons for you. Those pros and cons kind of left a big marking on me on this game because I never finished the game as a kid. So what happened was, when Manga asked me to come do this video, I decided to play the game again for the first time since 2005 in 2022 for 1 week. And my experience went from this game was alright to this game is very interesting to say the least in this day and age. Now let's get into the meat and potatoes of what truly Tenkaichi is, and this game does not hide it. It is a spam fest. I am not lying to you. This game will spam you to death from the start to finish. When I first booted up my first match, I got hit with nothing but Kamehameha waves from Goku, and it was just sickening to see that this was happening in the first match. I'm like, the game cannot play like this. I'm thinking it's just, maybe I just had a bad bug or something, and Goku just starting off being petty. No, the game is like this from start to finish, and it's whatever, you get used to it, and you start to learn that to win matches and games and everything on here, you have to spam. Like, that's just what comes with it. I'm pretty sure most people who are gods at this game are gonna be like, no, you don't got to do that. But for me, homie, when I played it, that's what I had to do. When I fought the Great Ape, I had to spam. It was no other way around it. And then one mission I hate the most on here are the survive till the time runs out, bro. Those missions are insanely hard for no reason. They give the opponent double the health, double the attack power, and you have to survive. And what I just found out, what you had to do was just run away. That's all you could do, is just run away. You cannot sit there and bang these survive to the time ran out opponents to the time ran out. You have to legit run away. Every guide will tell you that you search up, which I did, by the way. Every guide will tell you to just run away. So you can stun lock also in this game. You can stun lock also if you're really good at that. I'll probably throw some clips up about that. You can really stun lock in this game from start to finish. I'm not that great. I feel like I'm an average fighting game player, but you get the gist of it. But other than that, some of the good things I liked about the game was the presentation about the game. The presentation is nice, the art style, everything like that. But the bread and butter of everything here is the what ifs and the Z battle gate and the story mode in this game. And the best person to handle that is the Go himself, Manga Adventure. So I'm gonna let him take it away.